101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, medical profession or professional, built a 100 million business. Imagine people and well, he found purpose for sure. Lost her, lost himself, but he found himself for the purpose. No other than Mr. Whitney Wright.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Whitney. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. So, my name is Whitney Wright. I live in Arizona in the USA. I am an orthodontist and a retired orthodontist and an entrepreneur. I co founded a dental and orthodontic company here in the Southwest in 2011, and we now have 27 practices in 4 different states. I ultimately ended up having to retire from that job due to medical and anxiety and depression issues, which I cover extensively in my book. And I now have written this book, Men Under Pressure, to help men face the stigmas that surround them trying to get help because it is really hard for men to take that leap into admitting that they need help.
Mr. Whitney Wright, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And what unique societal pressure make men particularly vulnerable to mental health struggles today?
Traditionally, in society, men are seen as both the protectors and providers. And if they open up about any struggles in regards to mental health, they can oftentimes appear weak or as though they are failing in their ability to provide and protect. And so, in the business place, in the home, if a man is to say, I'm struggling emotionally with anxiety, depression, possibly PTSD, then sadly, he can be ostracized. He can be looked at as now lesser. And because of those stigmas, men really have a hard time letting that information be known and instead turn to coping mechanisms such as alcohol or other addictive practices to keep from falling apart. But that in and of itself can lead to them falling apart.
How has the traditional tough guy stereotype contributed to the current mental health crisis among men?
You'll find these manly men uh, online or elsewhere saying that, a real man just toughs it out. A real man just works harder. A real man just, you know, becomes even more stoic and just pushes through. And sadly, that isn't the case. It doesn't work, at least not in my case and in the case of many, many other men, including the men that I interviewed and included in my book, because there comes a point where you reach a limit. And once you've reached that limit, your body will let you know. And that's exactly what happened to me, Daniel, back in 2016 through 2019 with panic attacks that would happen to me while I was seeing patients in my orthodontic offices.
Mr. Whitney, what are the most common warning signs that a man is struggling but not expressing it?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. I'd say some of the most common warning signs are isolation. He will want to be by himself. Either he'll sit in the car for long periods of time by himself, he'll isolate on social media and just be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. He'll stop wanting to spend time with family or friends. He won't want to go out as much. He just wants to find a safe place where he can feel peace. And that can be, something that can be a good thing for men. But if it's something that looks like they're isolating more and more, and then another telltale sign is increased aggression or anger.
Let's talk about the barriers to help seeking, Mr. Whitney. Why do so many men resist therapy or emotional support even when they are suffering already?
That's another great question, Daniel. One of the reasons is because therapy is often looked at as a feminine experience. That if you're going to a therapist, if you're talking to a counselor about your feelings, that you are doing something feminine and that makes you less of a man. And that's one of the barriers. Another barrier is men admitting that they do need help because ever since we were young, we were taught to never show fear, never show uh, different emotions so that we could be a strong man. And then people wonder why men struggle to share their emotions. So there's the fears of being felt or being considered more feminine. There's the fears of being vulnerable. There's also difficulty in finding providers. If you're unable to find someone to talk to, that can also be another barrier to find therapy.
Very empowering answer. Mr. Wright, very
I'm glad the audience
empowering
agrees.
answer. Definitely. And what are the some alternative approaches to therapy that might feel more accessible to reluctant men?
That's a great question. So, in my book, Men Under Pressure, I take the reader through a journey that they can go through to help them recover from any sort of mental health issues. And the first part of the book is how they can themselves start to get better. And that's through exercise, that's through meditation, that's through connecting with other people, that's with expressing hobbies and just different, things that will help them that they can do on their own. But if it turns out that they may need a little bit more help, then that's the part of the book that transfers into finding help from a professional.
Yes, definitely. And emotional health and masculinity. How can men redefine strength to include emotional vulnerability without feeling emasculated?
You have phenomenal questions, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. If I was able to, I would also share the applause with the audience on that question. So the question is, how can men be more vulnerable with their emotions? Is that
Yes. Yes. How do you
so? It takes
redefine this strength? Because
it.
oh, I'm a man. I
I
need this.
know, I know. It takes a leap of faith. So you want to open up to someone that you trust, someone that you love, not someone that is going to throw that in your face or possibly weaponize it. I first started by telling my wife, I've been married for 22 years, and started to share that information with my wife, who was very supportive. Of course, she was able to feel her own emotions of fear and uncertainty, but ultimately she was very supportive. And then I was able to speak to a counselor and a therapist about it, and then ultimately a psychiatrist. But it turns out that as soon as you start to open up about it, then the shame that has you in its grip, the shame that says, don't tell anyone, this is a secret. You can't tell anyone or else they're going to hate you. As soon as you get it out in the open, then the shame starts to shrivel away and you're able to communicate more effectively with others.
Yes. Indeed. Interesting answer. Indeed, Mr. Whitney. Interesting answer. And empowering too. How can fathers model good mental health practices for their sons?
That is a great question because fathers are traditionally supposed to be able to control the household and also their children. They need to be firm but kind. They need to show stability but also emotion. And a lot of us growing up, I don't know about you, Daniel, but a lot of us growing up, we didn't see a lot of emotion out of parents. um,
True.
at least not a lot of caring or loving that was expressed verbally. We would see actions that would be kind, or we would see when they were angry. But something that I've really worked on with my children as a father is to say to them what I'm feeling. I, for example, if I'm frustrated, instead of just retreating to my room or trying to run away from the situation, I'll say, I'm really frustrated right now. And I'm frustrated and I'm feeling a little upset. And I just say it in a talking tone. I'm not yelling, I'm not raising my voice, I'm not being menacing, but I'm expressing what I'm feeling. And if you're able to do that, then they in turn will also be able to learn how to express their emotions. And I tell my kids it's okay to be angry. Anger is a normal human emotion, and anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's when we act in anger that might hurt others that's what we need to control.
Relationships and support system. What role do patterns, friends, and family play in helping men open up about their struggles?
That's a great question. If you have a support network, if you have friends that you trust and can rely on, if you have family members, if you have church leaders, if you have some sort of business associate, anyone that you can feel close to, then those are people that you ultimately can open up to. One of the exercises in my book is to help people figure out who they can open up to if they need to. They think of three people who they're close to and write their names down. And then they take that list and they put it on their mirror and they look at it every day and they see those names, and eventually, an opportunity will arise where they will be able to open up to one of those three people as they continue to see those names throughout every morning or evening as they're getting ready for bed. And just by concentrating and thinking about having those experiences with those people, those experiences will come about.
How can men build deeper, more emotionally supportive friendship with other men, Mr. Wright?
I love that question. For me, it's about sharing. If I'm out camping with other guys and we're sitting around the campfire and we start to talk about our lives, the struggles we've had, the experiences that we're going through, those are perfect opportunities to bond with other men. If you have a men's support group in your church, if there is a group on Facebook, or if there is a local tennis club or some sort of hobby where there's other men around, chances are they also are looking for connection and they will happily welcome someone who says to them, let's get lunch. Let's connect a little deeper in our relationship and tell me, how are you doing?
Definitely. And what's the best way to approach a man you suspect is struggling without making him defensive?
That's a great question. The way that I would do it, and of course there's a million ways to do it, but the way that I would do it would be one on one. And we would need to be in a setting where we have already been talking. And I would then be able to say to him, let's say it's you, for example, I would say, Daniel, how are you doing? And you would give me the traditional answer of, I'm doing good, Whitney. Thank you for asking. And then I can lean in a little bit more and say, Daniel, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask that question again. And the only reason is because I've noticed that you've kind of been isolating. You've kind of been showing more anger recently, and I don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes. So if you'll permit me, if and allow me to ask again, Daniel, how are you really doing? And then just be silent and let them either come to you or not. They'll either say, well, to be honest, I'm really struggling at work. I am falling behind. I can't do this or that, and I'm scared. And so then there you go, they've started to open up. Or they could say, no, I'm good, dude, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm just fine, don't you don't have to worry about me. Which says they're not ready to open up yet, but at least now they know that if there is a need to talk to someone, that you are a safe person.
Yes, indeed, we are safe. And if you need help, please ask for help.
That's right.
Work and societal expectations. How does workplace culture contribute to men's mental health pressures? And what can employers do better?
One of the things that men are finding more and more frequently in their lives is not only the need to make more money, but also to level up in their careers, to climb that corporate ladder. And if you're trying to level up in your career or show your worth to obtain a raise with your employer, you're going to start putting in more work. You're going to start really pushing yourself, and you can push yourself too hard. And so the pressures in the workplace to succeed, to demonstrate that you're willing to basically kill yourself for the company, that is a huge problem. And one of the things that employers can do is they can allow for personal days without any questions, a certain number of personal days a year where someone says, I need to take a personal day. Now, you don't have to say, I need to have a personal day because I'm severely depressed or I'm having anxiety and panic attacks, because that's not something that you need to divulge to them. But you can, hopefully take a day for yourself or say, you know what, I need the rest of the week off. And hopefully, employers will be sensitive and cognizant enough to see what that means and allow that to happen.
Mr. Whitney, as a best selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, and medical professional, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh man, my short term goals are to spread awareness about this book. The reason that I wrote this book, which was not easy, by the way, I lay my whole life completely bare for everyone to see, all of my faults, all of the things that uh, people would normally want to hide. I lay it bare in the hopes that if there's a man out there who's struggling with something similar, that he doesn't have to go through what I went through, that hopefully he can pull up from the tailspin before he hits the bottom like I did. So, my short term goals are to spread awareness about this book, get it into the hands of the men who need it, or the people who love men. It's not just for men, women, mothers, significant others, brothers, sisters, anyone can read this book. And it will help them in some way, shape, or form, either to learn how to help a man who's struggling or to um, invite a man who's struggling to possibly get better. So that's my short term goal. My long term goal is to continue to stay healthy. So I am a workaholic, and that's something that I cover in my book. I have a hard time, Daniel, knowing when to stop when it comes to working and putting in the effort to do more. And so my long-term goal is to continue to keep my workaholic tendencies at bay and keep balance in my life as a father and a husband and a provider and business owner.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Whitney, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Wow. I mean, first off, it never hurts to try. If it's writing a book, if it's going to school to get further education, if it's opening up to a friend, it never hurts to try. And I find that the more I try things, the more the universe per se, cosmic powers that be, will allow good things to happen in my life. So if you have something that you've been wanting to try, try it. If you have something that you've been wanting to experience, try it and just see what happens.
Yes. Try and try until you succeed, people. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Wright. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Absolutely. In my book, I have a recommended reading list where I have a big list of books that I recommend, and there's many books that I quote in here. One of the books that I particularly like is written by Greg McEwen, and his book is famously known as Essentialism. And essentialism is the practice of learning when to say no to things and how to find only the best things for your life. And it's extremely helpful. So I would say Essentialism by Greg McEwen is a fantastic book.
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Wright. And hope and the future of the book itself. What positive shift are you seeing in how younger generations of men approach mental health?
I'm seeing that more and more men in the younger generations are actually talking about it. As the older generations were more stoic. They were raised in a society of you just don't talk about those things. You just keep those bottled up. You just keep those hidden. And we've learned that that doesn't work well. So I love that the younger generations who are on TikTok, who are on Instagram, who are on all these different social media sites, they're used to expressing their emotions. They're used to expressing their opinions and their habits and filming themselves and posting things. And it's helpful for them when it comes time to share how they're doing with others because they're already in the habit of sharing about themselves.
Well, before we wrap up our discussion today, Mr. Wright, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and mental health 101. Love letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Whitney, if you could change one societal norm to better support men's mental health, what would it be?
If I could change one thing, I would make it okay to not be okay. And I don't know if that makes sense, but so many times, men will say, I'm okay. And they feel that they have to say that. But if I were to change one thing, it would be okay to not be okay. And they would feel safe in being able to say that.
Yes, it's okay to cry. People, most especially men, it's okay.
Yeah.
Show your weakness. Crying is not a sign of weakness.
No.
It's saying that I'm a man. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Mr. Whitney Wright, thank you so much for sharing your best-selling book to the world. I'm hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, your business, or whatever
Of
projects
course.
that you're doing right now?
Of course. You can find my book wherever books are sold, most easily on Amazon. Men Under Pressure. You can also go to my website, menunderpressure.com, where you can learn more about me and sign up for my newsletter and other updates about how things are going with me and the book.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Whitney Wright because if you support him for sure, as I said, more and more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Whitney, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. Been a pleasure.
More to come, people. See you soon.